Well, it's still not clear exactly where that bullet came from.
It's not clear where the bullet came from. There are no reports of any gunshots in our ballpark.
But our acting superintendent is still investigating this shooting from last Friday at 35th and Billvick Drive.
We're dispelling a lot of things. It's coming from outside is something that we've almost completely dispelled, but we're still looking at every avenue. It's still under investigation. Something from inside, it could have happened that way, but we're looking at every avenue, exploring every lead and everything that we get. We're exploring that.
Okay. Well, with Chicago police saying it's most likely the gunfire that struck two women Friday, fourth inning, at a White Sox game originated inside the ballpark, a lawyer now for one of those injured has issued a statement disputing any notion that his client brought any weapon in any way, shape, manner, or form through security and accidentally fired it. That woman, treated for leg wounds, found herself under scrutiny as police continue to unravel what happened. We discussed this yesterday with Rick Tellender of the Sun-Times, and Peggy Kaczynski had originally said that the woman smuggled the gun in the folds of her physique. Well, let's start there with Sam Charles. He's the man who covers the Chicago Police Department for your Chicago Tribune. Sam, let's start. Would you please tell us about the woman who's still under scrutiny?
Well, John, in recent days since the shooting occurred Friday, there have been various reports from several different media outlets who have been, I don't necessarily want to say peddling in rumors, but there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the circumstances of what happened. And there's been a general lack of clarity as far as how the shooting unfolded, where the shots came from, and who is ultimately responsible for it. So with that in mind, there have been some published reports suggesting that one of the two women who were shot was the person who brought a firearm somehow into Guaranteed Rate Field on last Friday evening.
Is the phrase concealed in the folds of the fat still in play?
I can just say, based on my own reporting, that has not been put on my radar yet. I cannot personally confirm that reporting myself now.
So her attorney says she denies bringing the firearm into the stadium, even though, if I'm correct, she had a FOID card, right?
According to the police incident report from Friday night, the 42-year-old woman who suffered what sounds to be the more severe injuries has a valid firearm owner ID card. Now, her attorney, as you mentioned, yesterday evening issued a statement on her behalf in which her attorney denied that his client had anything to do with the firearm being brought inside Guaranteed Rate Field. He explicitly said that she had nothing to do with the firearm discharge. She had no gun on her when she walked in. And furthermore, she's a season ticket holder, according to her lawyer.
So she's the 42-year-old woman, and you say she lives in the west suburbs. The other woman who suffered a graze wound, she's 26. She lives in the city. She works for the Chicago Public Schools. Does she have a lawyer, and has she also denied bringing the gun in?
I personally have not been in touch with the other woman. However, there's another report published earlier today in which that woman, the CPS teacher, her brother spoke out and said that they had heard a loud pop while they were sitting in the bleachers. And apparently the two women who were struck by bullets were not sitting in the same row. They were seated a decent distance away from each other. She has not, as best to my knowledge, she has not made any public statements, and it's unclear if she has retained counsel herself.
So it would be illegal if either of these women had the gun inside White Sox Park. They're not concealed carry permit holders, either one of them, to our knowledge. So the 42-year-old who was hit and more severely injured, they didn't find a weapon on her. Obviously, that'd be part of the initial news reports, wouldn't it?
It's unclear where the gun is that was used in this entire incident. Earlier this week on Monday, interim police superintendent Fred Waller held a brief media availability after a CPD recruit graduation ceremony at Navy Pier. And, he said that it's investigators as of Monday believe that the strong likelihood that the shots originated from inside the park. However, he was pretty adamant in saying that all avenues are still being explored. And as we're speaking now on Wednesday afternoon, it's still very much an ongoing and active investigation.
Sam, I wonder if the White Sox are going over videotape of the crowd looking for people after the incident happened who skedaddled.
I mean, yeah, the park is full of surveillance and security cameras. So, mapping someone's movements in and around the park is certainly feasible. And it stands to reason that both the White Sox staff and Chicago Police Department investigators are combing through that very closely.
Has the performer who was scheduled to offer up the post-game concert, has Vanilla Ice made any comment?
He posted a video to social media the day after the incident occurred, and obviously he was quite supportive of the city, and was generally speaking, urging unity among the city itself. And he was apologetic, and he certainly seemed like he was looking forward to performing. But as you mentioned, unfortunately, the post game concert was canceled after the game. The game itself was allowed to continue on despite a request from the CPD that it be halted. However, unfortunately, as you mentioned, the concert featuring Vanilla Ice, something had to be cut apparently, and that was it.
Sam, Charles, do you get the sense that this is still an active investigation, or has the CPD kind of turned the page, cold case time?
This certainly feels very active and ongoing. Obviously, in the city of Chicago, anybody can tell you that gun violence is an all too common occurrence. However, when there is an instance of gunfire in a crowded sporting event, it certainly raises questions. Like ostensibly there are supposed to be spaces in our city and in our world where this isn't the kind of thing that should be worried about. But, unfortunately, Friday was a reminder that, there's more that can be done to ensure the safety of anybody, at any given moment. And, especially at a sporting event with thousands of people, it certainly raises some questions as to what the protocols were and how they were followed.
I hate to be part of the problem as opposed to part of the solution, but I feel a bit chagrined about my silliness yesterday with the phrase smuggled in the folds of the fat. I feel like I may have taken that a little too far yesterday.
Again, John, my reporting personally, I cannot confirm that. So I'm, like I said, that's not something that I've been able to confirm or heard too much of.
Well, that's because, Sam, you're a journalist. I'm a talk show host. It's a different gig.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'll read more in the Tribune, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, John.